Welcome to a mini bonus episode of Caucus After the Fall podcast. In these bonus episodes, I will be speaking with my friends and talent on the process of creating the characters for the podcast, and also how they feel about, the characters that they played and how it relates to what's going on in the world today, now that it's 6 months later in 2025, and also about the projects that they're working on. And now, with no further ado, today we'll be speaking with Celeste Oliva. This is Teja Arboleda. I am here with my very good friend Celeste Oliva. She played Amihan Bekele, the chief of
Hapa Resource.
Hapa Resource District
Yeah.
in Caucus After the Fall podcast. And so we're just doing some follow-up with our talent. And Celeste, tell me a little bit about how you felt about the process putting the podcast together from developing your character, and also the fact that it wasn't really scripted. It was more about bringing some of yourself into the character, learning about the world through the world book, and going with the flow in the moment as you're speaking with the producer.
I always love it when I can sort of lean on real life experiences that I've had for a character when I'm asked to do that, because I feel like it comes out in an organic way. And then, but when I'm asked to do it specifically, what happens then is some sort of deep thinking happens beforehand, and then I let it go and it comes out in a much different way. And I feel like in a more organically genuine way than it would in say if I was rehearsing for a play, which you always bring yourself to anyway. But specifically for this character, I think because it was a mixed race district and I am mixed race, and I have endured some not so great things, and also been the benefit of a lot of great things because I am mixed race. I felt like I could bring some of that. But certainly my skepticism towards the producer was genuine. Like, what is it that you want? Aren't we over this? I also leaned a lot on world events that were happening, like what do you want? And there is that skepticism in me for real, and I felt like I could really bring that to the character. And because it was loosely scripted, but having understood this really colorful world, it was really sort of kudos to you. It's such a thorough world that was painted, that I could easily grab for my life to put in that situation, and use a lot of Celeste realisms that were happening in real time for me.
Celeste realisms.
So, well, you know what I mean? The reality of what my
Yeah,
life,
sure,
you
sure.
know
No,
what I
it
mean?
sounds like
Realisms.
it
It's
sounds
so
like an Etsy
pompous
page.
sounding. It's so pompous, we're not in my Celeste realisms. Almighty. Oh,
There's so many things I really love about working with you, Celeste. You're a consummate professional, and you really help who you're playing opposite of understand
oh,
what the moment is for them as well. So it was early on in the production that I worked with you on
mhm.
on this podcast, and I wasn't yet in a groove really to make sure that every episode was consistent in terms of style and who the producer is out of sequence, because we recorded the episodes out of sequence. But you're so connected to who you need to be at that moment, not just in character, but being playing opposite of the producer, that I felt like there were some times when I was looking to you for guidance, which was really, it's really, it felt
Oh,
really
wow.
great. So I just wanted to thank you for how well you always do in your performances.
Oh, thank you so much, Chad. It was really, we had some intense moments there, and I think that that's sort of the collaborative process, and that's really what I love about any, in particular, either a podcast or acting opposite somebody, is really sort of this collaborative process and the allowing of another individual's view, but also knowing the sort of end goal of it is helpful. Like, so you gave us guideposts, which were invaluable. So yeah, I thank you for that very, very much. I really, that means a lot to me. So thanks.
It's not a very popular or common style of podcast producing. Typically, it's scripted or it's completely unscripted,
Hmm.
right? And when it's dramatic fictional, most actors would expect a pretty high level of word for word, be word accurate, be off book, and all that. The process of doing this was part, for me at least, was a way to ensure that the authenticity of the voice that you bring is there in the moment because you're not guided necessarily by exact words. You're guided more about how you're feeling as yourself in this moment. And then the second part is, as a documentary film producer myself, what I really enjoy is asking questions so that I get what I need. And in this case, the producer is looking for information that he's not telling you. And all of the actors have the same skill sets, and I needed that consistency throughout. So, and stopping and starting and stopping and laughing and
Yeah. Yeah.
crying, there's
And
a lot of that.
crying.
Yeah.
I think the important part of this was the information that was given to an actor. So what's valuable to an actor, especially in a podcast, where people are just listening. But what's important is what is the story? What is the world I am in? So tonally, what am I doing? And also, it's built in what a person has to lose. That sort of post-apocalyptic paranoia, whatever you want to call it, in that sort of world, what's happening? And when it's painted in such a great way, it's then your imagination can sort of really take off with it. And so I think it was again the collaborative process of creating something in the moment, but having the foundation of already knowing what that world is was incredibly helpful to all of us. I mean, we were all like, oh my gosh, oh my God. And at one point we were like also because we would contact each other like what did you think, like how did it go, and once we got talking about it, it's almost like we became the character, like when we were talking to each other about our districts or whatever. It was really a lovely process, and one I've never been through before. So thank you for that gift.
We are hopefully going to be heading into a season two
Yeah.
of Caucus after the fall. And what is really phenomenally interesting, to say the least, is how what is happening now in February of 2025 is in many ways what was predicted in the podcast in season one. How are you feeling now as a mixed race person and as an artist?
Very much like my character. I feel like I need to protect me and my kind, both racially and creatively. It feels very much like unless I am with the current situation, then I am not at all. Then I should not exist. And so what that creates for me is a feeling of insecurity, of almost a dismemberment from what I thought was what I considered my country. And also, a word that I would use, untethered, not untethered, like it's a weird dismay, almost a certain helplessness about what I can do for either protecting myself or being able to survive in a country where I thought certain laws were or certain rights were mine, and then understanding now that they are not. And then what is the way forward?
Yeah, that's very true. And very much like the disassociation that became part of the default response in the podcast when the ESLOs had been established and people had been there for a couple of decades, then
Yep.
you start to lose a sense of, or even kind of an empathy for those who are different, those who are other.
Hmm.
And I think particularly for mixed race people, uh, at a time when there's this talk about separating people, removing people, uh, pushing people out, the divide and conquer is only starting. I'm worried that there will be all sorts of rationales to
Yeah.
separate people, including race.
I couldn't be in agree in agreement with you more. I mean, I've seen the seeds of this. Uh, as you know, I've lived outside of this country, have studied obviously other cultures and stuff like that. And where do the seeds of othering eventually go? And how quickly something can be dismantled. Um, in the podcast, and we're talking about basically that we have to show fealty to a certain type of, you know, leader, and that, particularly in my SLO, Hapa Resource, where they come in and they experiment with the new inoculations and stuff like that, and how I have come to understand what's going on, and then sort of try to protect the people, to like where we act like we're sick, or we act like, we act in a certain way in order to protect ourselves from this, which is why when the producer shows up, I'm like, okay, who the hell are you?
Hmm.
And what do you want with my people?
Hmm.
Um, there is it's very dangerous, I think. I think it's very dangerous to start thinking that our problems are caused by another person. I think when leaders, whether they be teachers, leaders in a church, leaders in families, when we teach, like, okay, what is our hand in this? And how do we be part of the solution? Um, that teaches responsibility about one's actions. It's not about profit. It's not about power. It's not about anything but making sure that everybody is sort of taken care of. It's a slow
Hmm.
way to lead. It's a slow process. It's not like wham bam here. Oh, look, we're so powerful, and look what all the things that we have. And um, othering is a really easy way to stir up fear, and fear is a really easy way. Fear and anger are real easy ways to stir people up and to gain uh like a following or fealty.
As artists and as deep thinkers, we have the agency to explore, but we also have the impetus to do what's right. And that's pretty typical of people in the arts in general. It's just inherent in why we are creative. The creative thinking process requires the ability to see outside and accept different ways of approaching something. That's what innovation's all about. I struggle with ways to tell stories about struggle without causing more struggle.
Yeah.
That's that's where I am. That's how I feel
Yeah.
today and in this moment. So, Celeste,
Yes.
what are you working on these days? I want to know. I want the world to know. You're so busy, and thank you for taking the time because you've been traveling a lot. But what are you working on? Tell us about it.
Okay, so I'm working on a show called Obsession. I think we're finally nearing the end because I just did some ADR for it a couple of days ago. It is, it's kind of a who done it. It's based on a book called 56 Days, which was written during the pandemic, and it follows. So I'm a supporting character in it. I'm a boss of these two detectives, but there's two stories which happening simultaneously. It is coincidentally about someone getting true justice, so it's like that. So and it's definite. It's called Obsession. That's what the but I don't think it'll come out under that. And it's for Amazon. It's an 8 episode series. I try to keep my detectives in line. That's kind of what my that's kind of my role. But they made this series set in Boston, believe it or not. And not that we shot in Boston, we didn't. Um, so that's what I've been working on. Her name is Camille Rousseau, I think is how the all the guys that I was working with up in Canada, they were like, Camille, Camille. And I was like, and I would say Camille. And there's a couple of other projects that are kind of in the pipeline that I can't sort of talk about right now, but
Mhm.
I'll see a stage sooner or later.
Excellent. So
Yeah. Oh, when I am
screen.
doing a staged reading in New York, it's all new works, and I'll be doing that in a couple of weeks. It's the first week of March that I'll be doing that one. So I will say, our industry has struggled a little bit post-strike and then a couple of other things. So I'm really happy to see that it feels like things are starting to get up and running again. Yeah.
Really good to hear, Celeste.
Yeah.
Keep us informed about what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I'm going to list some of these and your links and whatever on the text part of the podcast
Oh, you're so sweet.
on the listing, so people can see all the stuff you're doing. And I look forward to working with you again for season 2 of Caucus After the Fall.
Likewise.
And yeah, so again, thank you and have a great weekend.
Thank you, Taya. See
All
you
right.
soon.
This was a bonus episode of Caucus After the Fall podcast. We look forward to having you join us for season 2. Please go to entertainingdiversity.com/media. For more information on Celeste Oliva, please look at the podcast notes. Thank you for listening.